Constellation workshop that I'm doing in 2 weeks. And I want to just tell you just a little bit about it. It's about working with unconscious dynamics around relationship. Because we all have unconscious dynamics around relationship. It's not a question of if you have them. It's a question of how are they affecting your relationship and relating. So this is a workshop to find out what those dynamics are and shift them if that's what you'd like, if you're not having the experience you want. I had a woman come to see me a couple years back who the longest she'd ever had a relationship was 2 years, but usually it was like about 1 year, and then she was out of there. She always left. And when we did a little of that constellation-y stuff to find out what was going on, she was one of 4 kids. Her mother had stayed in the marriage for the sake of the kids, and her mother had been miserable. What we discovered was this woman, she felt trapped in relationship because she had her mother's experience of being trapped. She was one of 4 kids. Not a single one of those kids had had a relationship longer than a year. She was in her late 40s when I met her. Every single one of those kids was carrying their mother's experience of trapped in a relationship. Yeah, now nobody consciously sits down across from somebody in a relationship and says, you know, I think the problem here is my mother's unfulfilled marriage. Right? It's always, no, there's something wrong with you or something wrong with me. But we still have the same effect. I had one other guy who came to see me because when it came down to it, he didn't feel like he really deserved the relationship he wanted. And it was really strong for him. And when we found out a little bit about what was going on, his father had been in a foxhole in the Second World War in the Battle of the Bulge when a shell came in, right into the foxhole, hit his buddy next to him, square in the chest. Killed instantly. But because it hit his buddy so squarely in the chest, his buddy absorbed most of the concussion. And so his father lived. Felt guilty about it his entire life. Didn't know why he got to survive and his buddy didn't. This is the kind of guilt about being alive that my client was carrying. And when that shifted for him, by the end of the work we were doing, he could see himself in relationship. And not only that, he said, I even know what she looks like, which made me a little nervous. But doggone it, if a month later somebody didn't walk into a restaurant where he was looking just like that, they eventually got married and they've got a baby girl. Right? But until that, there was no way anybody could get close to him because he had these patterns. But nobody can know what your unconscious patterns are because, gosh darn it, they're unconscious. Right? So one of the things I love about this workshop is everybody gets a chance to see what your unconscious patterns are regarding relationship, what you're projecting onto relationship. And everybody gets a chance to see a little how their parents' relationship is affecting them, or sometimes generations back. And one more thing is everybody gets a chance to experience the strength of their own gender, because each gender has its own unique strength, and what it's like to have support for your gender, to be in relationship with that kind of gender support. It's a very different experience. And then there's the usual assorted woo-woo stuff that I always throw in, because I'm from a, granola crunchy part of the Bay Area, and if I don't do a certain amount of woo-woo stuff, I lose my privileges at Whole Foods. But it's 2 days of work where everybody gets to participate. So I hope you'll come. It's in 2 weeks. We'd love to see you there. And
is it individual in what you're discovering, or are you discovering it within the group?
There's 1 or 2 traditional constellations, which if you've seen, you know how those are. But the rest are all exercises that are designed to let everybody do kind of that thing, but where everybody gets a chance to, like in the whole group. So everybody gets a chance to see exactly what they're projecting onto relationship without having to do everybody's full constellation. And everybody gets to be part of small groups. And
I have a couple other questions.
Sure.
How many people do this, and does it include people that don't have NLP backgrounds or constellation?
Yes, no NLP
exposure?
background required, or even constellation background required. We love having those folks, but no, you don't need nothing for this. Space is limited, but what this does is it makes visible the invisible things that are running, because you can't change what you don't know is there. So, love to see you there. Thank you for that.